Olsen, Sadro, and Fitterer have all been using their consistency to hold down the top 3 spots in the points. But you can't help but look at Jerry McAreevy and spy that lone missed race at the Nürburgring and wonder. A win and 2 fourth places certainly makes it look as though drop weeks are going to shake things up in favor of the Scot. However, nothing is guaranteed when you bring a race to Lime Rock Park. This bullring of a road course is notorious for producing unusual results, and today, tensions will likely be very high. We'll see who can tame the beast as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Weekend Warriors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Bill Soup Zahn. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Bill, anyone who's run the roadside of iRacing probably knows Lime Rock inside and out, but for viewers who haven't been on the sim, why don't you fill us in?
Sure thing. This is original content and it's free content. You know, it's just over 1.5 miles all the way around this track. There are 7 turns. 6 of them are right-handers. It was my introduction into iRacing. I tell you, between the corkscrew and the uphill here for a beginner sim racer, this almost got me right out of the sport on the very first week. Took me a long time to figure out you got to keep the wheels straight when you fly the car over the uphill there. Now, this track is small enough and our race is long enough today where I think lap traffic will be an issue. Now, if you're smart enough, there's easy ways to get out of the way. If you're a tough guy, if you're in the back, or if you're in a battle for one of those positions farther back, lap traffic could be a problem. In the real world, my first introduction to this track came when I was watching Paul Newman, the actor. He's long since deceased, but he was a great race car driver. And this was his home track, and he'd race here in his Datsun, and it was always big news. But to get a real good idea what this place is like, let's just take a simple lap around our GSRC SRF.
All right, we've got Stevie Ray in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Lime Rock Park. Turn 1 is really going to be one of the few good places to pass, but because of that, expect drivers to be defending hard into here. It's a double apex through this corner though, so you've got to be patient with the throttle or else you'll be off into the dirt. From there, you immediately switch sides for 3. Avoid the temptation to turn in early because you'll want to hug the left side on the exit. If you set it up right, you can fly through 4 flat out. Incredibly, you'll be hardly using any brake for the rest of the lap. Up the no-name straight, you'll eventually want the car to the left side, then give a lift on your way into the uphill. The car's going to grip at the bottom, then suddenly you've got to keep the wheel straight at the top on the crest. Try not to understeer into the grass, and then you're approaching West Bend. Ideally, you want to tuck the wheels right down to the inside without clipping the curb. Get the car bouncing and it can be lights out in a flash. Diving turn is similar because there's a little groove of banking that helps the car grip and rotate. It'll be especially important now that you're back on the pit straight and need all the speed you can get. But hopefully you've now finished a lap around Lime Rock Park. Laps are pretty short around here at Lime Rock Park, and you're going to be seeing a lot of them over 40 minutes, that's for sure. Well, the Weekend Warriors, we just want to remind you, are brought to you by the Hallett Race Shop. Hallett Race Shop is located at the Hallett Racetrack near Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're a full-service SRF shop and authorized customer service rep for SCCA Enterprises and owners of the Hallett Racetrack. You can find more information at hallettracing.net. Big thanks to them for coming on board and sponsoring this season of the Weekend Warriors. This season, though, has been fascinating because as we take a look at the points, we've had some of our major players typically either missing races or not performing well, and well, that's allowed Steve Elson, Daniel Sadro, and Donald Fitterer to all be top 3 in the overall points. You can see Fitterer is actually a Spec 2 driver even. I have a feeling he will be promoted come the end of this season. Jerry McAreevy did one, as I mentioned, and he did move himself up 1 position with that 4th place last week at Silverstone. Gaspers continues to fall downward as he both had a bad start to the season and missed last race. In fact, do not believe he is here today either. We also have a Spec 2 championship that I briefly mentioned there, and Bill's got more information on that.
Logic would happen if you show up in the top 5 in the Spec 1s, that you're going to be at the top of the Spec 2s, and sure enough, that will sitting right there. Now, swapping positions are Jeff Jacobson and Bob Kern. Kern, a veteran of the series, has been racing in this S2 championship for a long time. Zachary LeVay makes his first appearance onto the graphics. He moves up 2 spots, and does Ed Doherty, but Doherty's been around for a while. All stars and stripes except for 5th position down there Doherty races in the UK. Joe?
If you've never watched the Weekend Warriors before, here's what we've got in store for you. As mentioned, we are in round 5. They do get drop weeks, which I said during the intro can help some of these drivers who have to miss some of the races but are very fast. They have a 40-minute race on hand. Now, the big difference is if you know about the spec racer in real life, you may be thinking, well, surely they can do the whole race distance and without one stop. Well, they've limited the fuel cells here in the simulator, at least in this league specifically, to 35%. That means they will require at least one pit stop just for fuel. Now, for the points, they also ration them. They've got them the same for the podium. It's 100 for first, 90 for second, 83 for third, always, no matter how many show. But from there on down to last place, it gets apportioned to 25 points. They do get some penalty points if they have off tracks, and of course, they have no spare car either to save them if they get damaged. Damage won't be as important here, although if you get it, you probably got into trouble, and that, unfortunately, will mean your day could be over quickly. I take that back. They do have a spare car here, that they have to save them. Now, this, of course, season has been watched on the iRacing Esports Network. And, well, if you want to continue to catch this season in your YouTube feed, what you got to do is subscribe. There's a big red button on the YouTube page of iRacing's IESN. Click that, and you'll see not only the Weekend Warriors, but all the official iRacing World Championship Series show up there in your YouTube feed. Taking a look at the qualifying, which they are in the midst of. Last week's winner, who certainly impressed us with his pace, Sven Demmel, is back up at the top, but Daniel Sadro continuing to try and challenge him. About 2 tenths between them, which doesn't sound like a lot, Bill, but as short of a lap as it is here, that's a pretty big gap.
It is indeed. And, of course, Sadro and Elson, they sit at the top of the points. Neither one of those guys has a win yet this season, which is interesting. We talked about how drop races will play in effect. Those will start to be calculated starting next week. You'll see drivers, their point totals will start to level off as drop races are coming in. We're showing the best 4 of 4 right now. Next round we'll show the best 4 of 5, best 4 of 6, best 4 of 7 before we start moving back into raw numbers again. So it's going to be interesting. Those drivers who have wins that have missed races, we talked about them, those guys are going to be showing up in the charts. Give us a better understanding of how the points really play out.
Stevie Ray, currently up in 6th, certainly seems to be faring well here. He drove our lap guide, so certainly knows his way around. And you talked about the lap traffic here, Bill. Yeah. I've been keeping an eye on the pace of drivers and the spread, because that's, I feel like, going to make a big impact on how many cars are being lapped and how quickly they're going to catch them.
Yeah, well, what's going to happen with 30 cars, it's not that you're going to come up behind a car you need to lap. You're going to come up behind several cars that are in a battle that you're going to need to lap, and that can be more tricky. And especially if you're a lapped car and you have in your rearview mirror not just the leader, but maybe the guy battling for first right behind him. Maybe it's a 3-car train that you have to get through. That can be tricky. I would not be surprised if there isn't an incident, because while it can be done, communication is so important here. I think, I love it, by the way. I love this format. These little cars on a little track, this is how it should be. Lap traffic will be a factor.
Watching some of the drivers put times in, but I can report Elson has demoted Sadro off of the front row. He's now in 3rd, Elson into 2nd, still about a 10th off of Demmel, so nobody's able to catch our pole sitter. You see on screen the DH driver coming around to complete one more. Let's see if this one's any faster for him. And it's not going to count, it looks like. So looking through our Spec 2 pole sitter, currently is actually Adam Bradshaw. He's just a little bit faster than Fitterer, but not a lot, less than a 10th ahead of him. And even with that, Fitterer is 2 positions down from him.
Bradshaw, another veteran of the series, has been around since we've been covering it on GSRC. He's got to be happy with what he's doing right now. This is good news.
Bill, it's not just lapping cars, passing lapped cars that they'll have to worry about. Obviously, they'll want to overtake cars that they're in a position battle in. But one thing that really struck me while I was narrating that lap guide and observing how Stevie Ray drove it, which obviously he's fast, he only broke 3 times during the lap. I mean, how many passing opportunities even are there when you're only braking 3 times?
Well, here's the deal. There are enough passing opportunities unless you're trying to pass somebody who's taken a defensive line. If you take a defensive line down into 1, I guess it's really 1 and 2. It's that sweeping first corner. Man, it makes it rough to get around somebody there. Defensive lines are it'll be tough.
Yeah.
And then you take another one as you go to the uphill. You take a defensive line in there. What it does, though, it slows down your lap time if you're the leader, and it allows the train to come up and get behind you. It turns a 2-car battle into a 4 or 5-car battle.
Yeah, we'll have to watch and see if we get a bit of pack racing around here, even though it's not considered a draft track by the typical sense. Dimmel circulating around West Bend, and then the diving turn. He's actually given a tow to both Stevie Ray and Ramon Regalado. They might be able to go faster. Sven went faster last lap and increased it back to nearly 3/10. Let's see if this one does anything for him. Nope. Going to be a 59 flat. He's at a 57 flat for his fastest lap. Elson has 0.285 of a second to try and catch him now.
One of the action corners, and you may actually see passes done in corner 3. It's the only left-hander on the track. If you can't get the pass made on the outside through 1 and 2, if you can carry the momentum around, you're on the preferred position going into 3. And if it doesn't happen there, then you're side by side through 4, and then, well, all heck breaks loose after that. So good luck. There's another driver, Elson and Shaw. Go ahead.
I just realized Bradshaw's moved up to 4th. So our Spec 2 pole sitter is going to be on the 2nd row if things stay how they are. So that puts him well out of reach of Fitterer, who's still down in 11th. He'll have some work to do for sure. You see Michael Shaw heading towards the line, down from 8th position. Got 3 100ths to make up. And he made them up and actually up to 2nd place. Michael Shaw on a tear that lap.
Now, of course, this is open qualifying, so yeah, while this isn't really a draft track, you can maybe think that maybe Bradshaw got behind somebody and helped him out a little bit going around. I love open qualifying. I prefer this to the solo qualifying. This is good stuff.
Yeah, Bradshaw's still out there working too. They got 3 minutes. So plenty of time to get in a number of laps with how quickly they circulate here. Curious to see if Fitterer will be able to try and catch him, even if it's just a little bit. He's right in front of 3rd in the Spec 2 championship for this race. Ramon Regalado down there in P12. This is Fitterer coming up over the uphill. He's getting a nice little tow from one of the drivers who's faster than him currently, the number 18, Joe Aguilar. Through the diving turn. Oh, that looks like the slipstream's helping, but Joe's going to pull out of the way. Doesn't want to give him too much help. Let's see what Donald's got underneath him this time across the line. It's not faster, a 57.8, just a 10th short of his best lap.
You can see the overcast skies there, keeping the track temperature not quite so hot.
Yeah, it's decent conditions, it looks like. Only 80 degrees on the surface of the course. This is Wilson down in 26. Can't forget some of these drivers down towards the bottom. They're probably going to be fighting very closely with everybody around them. I'm not sure if anybody will be able to get away from the others on circuit. Paul Barbruzza as well, running P15 this last lap. Not quite as fast as his best, which was the previous one at a 58 flat.
So, Joe, I've been following this series. Is the pole sitter right now? Is Sven Dimmel? Is he new? Have we seen him before? He has a win? I guess. So, right?
What we found out last week is that he used to run this car more regularly, but this was the first time he's come to run the Weekend Warriors in a while. It was last week, so he still could be in the championship. He missed the first 3 rounds, and if he dominates, well, I mean, he could still wind up being champion. And based on the pace that we saw last week, Bill, I honestly wouldn't put it past him.
Honestly, 3 prop races, he shows up in round 4, wins. We've seen this happen before. We've seen drivers do that. Errol Num, the Roland Estonia, we haven't seen much of him on GSRC lately, was notorious for doing that. How many prop races you got? 4? All right, I'll show up round 5 and dominate from there. So, yeah.
Coming around to finish this lap. And he's still got 2.5 tenths over Michael Shaw, but looks like he's going to abandon this one. Now, that pit entry, Bill, with some cars, it seems like it could potentially cause problems if the car behind you's got to run on you and tries to duck to the inside at the same time you want to pit. I mean, what are you expecting today between that and the pit exit as well?
Again, I can speak from experience. You've got to make your intentions clear on that. You've got to get over to the right-hand side and let guys know, don't go underneath me, I'm coming in, especially if it's a lap where you have to come in.
Checkered flag is out here in qualifying. Drivers now finishing up as they cross the line. Seeing if anybody, Michael Shaw, who was in second, was not able to improve. Joe Aguilar, who is currently in fourth, is coming around to finish his lap. This is Sadro that we're watching. Aguilar is going to abandon it. He pulls over, lets Sadro through. Sadro sitting down in sixth now. He was as high as second for a while in this qualifying, and he's not going to complete this lap either. Seeing if we've got anybody who could potentially overtake our pole sitter, and I'm not seeing any of the fast drivers left out there. Doherty crosses the line and it's 2.94, and it's not faster for him either. And I believe that is the last one that we see coming towards us. Ryan Sorrell in 22nd. He's got to beat a 58.3 to improve, but he's not going to do that. So that'll take us to our starting grid for today. It is going to be Sven Demmel on the pole once again. Will he have a repeat of last time? Michael Shaw will be starting outside of him. Then Steven Elson will be P3, and row 2 is completed by Joe Aguilar. Miroslav Juracek gets it up to 5th, a little bit better than what we saw last week. And 6th is Daniel Sadro, our pole sitter for the Spec 2 race. Adam Bradshaw starts 7th. Stevie Ray behind him in 8th with Jason Perry. Spider-Man surprisingly low here in 9th place. Matthew Staley will start 10th. Bill?
In 11th, it's our S2 point leader, Donald Fitterer. He's going to be inside of Foreign Arabian. Paul Bapusa is going to be in the Baker's Dozen position, flanked by Raymond Regalado. Bob Kern, the veteran, back in 15th position. All ribbons and curls in the Sweet 16 spot. Edward Doherty. Esanumi after him. Row in the 18th position, it's Jeff Jacobson. And the 19th and 20th is Zachary LeVay and Jim McGill. Joe? Tom
Gradwell starts 21st with Ryan Sorrell in 22nd. Then you've got Dominique Bureau in 23rd, followed by Christopher Patterson outside of him. Rick Hansen starts P25, Ian Wilson 26th, and Gary Wobolt 27th. John Nielsen will be 28th. The last driver to get time in is Matt Solbloom in 29th. Now, I see Jerry McAreevy, and he is actually lining up. I wondered. I didn't see him all practice, and he's a last-second entry in 30th. Edgar Sancinelli is also going to be here, it looks like. He will be the last one on the grid today. So Jerry's going to have some work to do. Certainly not going to help himself in the points championship with having nearly every single car in front of him on the grid. It is a rolling start, as always, in this series, so we'll get to watch a slow pace lap around and then hold on to your butts, because we've got 40 minutes here at Lime Rock Park with 30-plus cars on the grid.
McAreevy going to be easy to follow through the field with that paint scheme. I like that one. That is some brightly colored cars there. You see him in the very back there, the very last on the right-hand side of your screen right now. That I'm going to call it white and red. Take a guess. That's red. Maybe it's orange striped car.
It's green, unfortunately, Bill.
Oh, come on!
Well, I mean, he's a Scot. Wouldn't you expect that?
Okay, all right, I got it. Oh, my rods and cones. Mom and Dad, come on.
Porsche pace car is now leading them away, and our pole sitter in the Spec 2 is starting from pit lane. Adam Bradshaw finally shows up, and he is not going to take the green. Bill, I'm not sure if that's more due to his wariness of maybe some chaos at the start, or what happened there.
I don't know. My dad used to say when the light shines the brightest, the color sews the tightest. Maybe he just got nervous and said, I'll just start from the back. I don't think that's the case.
That's certainly a waste of a good opportunity, but we'll see how it plays out.
It might end up being a wise move in the end.
Who knows? They're coming down No Name Straight. towards the uphill. Bill talked about the difficulties in getting over the top of this corner. It's not just holding the wheel straight, Bill, but I find often, I'll understeer off into that grass.
I don't know that difficult. It's just I was difficult for someone with the talent level that I have, but it was a learning experience for sure. You know what, Joe? We didn't talk really about attrition. The walls are really close here. There's not a lot of runoff there, as you could talk about what's going on through turn 6 as they come down to turn 7 to get this thing started.
Boy, that attrition word, we've been hearing a lot this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But right now, the Porsche pace car is going to peel off, give Sven Demmel the control of the field. Green flag is out here for round 5. There's a bit of a checkup. And look at Spider-Man, almost 4 wide already on the front stretch. Juracek finds himself tipped into the wall. And Perry has to find his way back to the black stuff, but Sven Demmel is in front of it all and manages to avoid the chaos. Looks like we had another car. Oh, and once again, for a second time on the first lap, Perry finds himself off course. He gets back on. There's more trouble behind them. That was not what we were hoping for.
Jason Perry tried to make a move. Again, we'll come back and look at it. Tried to make a move on the grass. That was caused the first incident. Then he came back out there, got into Edward Doherty. So it's been a rough first lap for Spider-Man.
Up and over the uphill. We already got a victim. That's Foran's Arabian. He stays out of the wall, but the entire field is now streaming by him.
I got to admit, that makes me feel a little better about myself.
Already completing the first lap, Sven Demmel finds himself crossing the line in first. Steve Elson retains second place, and Michael Shaw stays in third. Donald Fitterer moves up to fourth, but we got a battle for P5. To the outside, it is Staley fending off the likes of Barbuza. He's going to retain that position.
Drivers up front, first, second, and third on the grid, but then look at the climbers back here. Fitterer gridded in 15th, Matthew Staley in 10th, Barbuza in 13th, Relegado 14th. Man, they're a lot of comers.
And to talk about the attrition that you expected, well, Nielsen, Aguilar, Juracek, and Wilson all have found themselves ending the day early.
Big names drivers. Adam Bradshaw started from the pit. Sadro back there racing in what would be 22nd position right now.
Continue to watch this battle up towards the middle of the front pack. That is Fitterer, who's being challenged by Staley. He's going to duck to the inside. And I think he's going to be able to outbrake him down into the corner. That moves Staley up to P4. We've got a little bit of an opportunity now. Why don't we take a look at that replay for Perry Ray and for Renz? I think this was the 4 wide moment that we're getting ready to look at. Looks like that 4 wide was in the back there.
And that's Perry, who was already involved. Now there's the first one with Perry, as he was trying to make it 4 wide on the inside. Now he comes up here, doesn't have a good racing line. Then there's contact in front of him. And again, he makes contact yet again. Man, he didn't have any luck on that first part of the lap.
Gonna look at Ray, and once we come back, the Texan driver, unfortunately, through the lone left-hander, gets turned completely around. Now on board the Californian, the number 42. He survived all of that, went to turn in on the uphill. Oh, the curb to the inside, it looked like.
And while we were watching that replay, Elson got loose right in front of Michael Shaw. I think Michael Shaw got a big piece of this one. He's going to have some straight line speed problems now. Watch this. This is just a mistake by the 56.
This is bad news for our current points leader after his incredible consistency so far, just rifling off top 10s time after time, and only 1 podium. Not sure that he's going to be able to find the podium today. So we come back live. You talked about Perry having no luck. He's actually still in 14th, so he's not faring too bad considering.
Yeah, Demmel drives away with this now with Elson out of the picture. Shaw is about to be run down, I think, by Staley. Staley's going to be quick. I can't help but notice that, well, last I checked, let's see where McAreevy is right now. He had made a run through, and he's up to 16, so he's coming.
So we've got two drivers on reverse trajectories. Perry's down to 15th from higher up, and McAreevy's up to 16th from the very back. We're about to cross paths because as we ride on board with Spider-Man, looking over that wrinkled rear end of the car, you could see the green and white of McAreevy looming closer and closer. In fact, he looks to have fantastic pace. He gets right underneath the gearbox. A little bit off track for Perry coming through West Bend. And Doherty had an off. That's who you see to the left side there, trying to recover the car. Not a good enough run from McAreevy. Bill, I missed what happened to Doherty. Have you spotted what went down with him in the final turn?
Yeah, it was the uphill got him. No, it was corner 6. It was West Bend. He got a little bit loose, put it in the wall. So yeah, his car took some big damage.
He has to take it to the pits. Now, we said there's an expected pit stop, and some of these drivers have come in to take the replacement car, but I'm not sure that they can save enough fuel to go this long.
Yeah, you really wouldn't want to come in unless you absolutely have to get that spare car. You'd like to do it in your pit window if you could.
This is our leader, Sven Demmel. The gap, amazingly, in the first 6 minutes is up to nearly 6 seconds. That was a lapped car he was going by, Ian Wilson, who stepped out of the way.
He's got clear traffic ahead of him, but Joe, how about 4th position?
Yeah, that's Donald Fitter getting up to there past Paul Barbuza, our Spec 2 leader, certainly taking good advantage of the fact that the Spec 2 pole sitter decided not to come to the grid. And he's actually in a fight in Spec 2 with Paul Barbuza. That's another one of our Spec 2s. The way to do that, to tell, is any driver with a 200 number is in Spec 2.
Now, some of this moved by Fitter is from attrition, but honestly, he's got some pretty good pace going on. Found himself up into 4th. Oh, no!
Barbuza! He's always on the racing line. Everybody scatters to get around him. He can't find an opening. Now he can finally get off. Unfortunately, there were a few victims from that one. I think Jeff Jacobson, one of them.
Rob Kern made the move. My goodness. He got passed by multiple cars. Patterson went around him, and Sorrell went around him, but Kern did a great job of not putting this one in the wall. Here's the spin as we ride on board. I turn actually all the way around. You might see the cars coming. No, it straightens out. There goes Kern. And then he gets working, then he loses all of his momentum. They go around him.
Well, at least the car's still racing, and he's still in 10th place. Boy, this, you can't count anything out, because this also promotes Jason Perry back up to 11th now. So he's been making those places back up bit by bit. There you can see he's already on the back of Kern, but also being chased by Jim McGill, who started in 20th, but is now sitting 12th. It seems like those curbs have been causing lots of problems. We've seen a few cars just lightly touch them, Bill, and it sends them around.
Let's take a quick look at 8th position. We have a pass being made down into the first corner. Haven't talked much about Stevie Ray. He gets that done. Started in 8th spot. He now is back up into 8th as he goes around Ryan Sorrell. Yeah, Joe, the curves have been deadly.
Yeah, we saw Steve actually turn a complete 360 in this very corner and still managed to recover. This sounds like as he goes off, coming through into No Name straight, that almost puts him under attack from Sorrell, but he can't do anything with it. Bill, this seems like a good case where you could put an over-under on how many cars finish on the lead lap.
My goodness.
Oh, no. Dominic Breaux, another one of our top drivers in West Bend.
Christoph Patterson with a great move to get off the gas and let the car clear as he goes around the left side. Honestly, I don't know if Patterson had a choice here or not, if it just happened to work. Nice move.
Yeah, this track seems like it is a heart attack in 1.5 miles. Right on board from Patterson's perspective. See how much time he had to react. Oh, it was a slow spin. Wow. Nicely done. That moves Patterson up into 6th, but he's got a gap up to Regalado. Try and chase him down. Instead, he's looking behind at Stevie Ray, who continues his climb, now promoted to 7th due to Dominique's problems. And we're just now getting into that pit window.
You talk about attrition. It was the Greek philosopher Aeschylus who wanted to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life in this world. I think his words could be heeded today, as it has been really a tough race.
Stevie Ray took a poke to the inside on Patterson, but couldn't quite make it work. Comes around Big Bend. Ryan Sorrell still following them closely. Oh, we had a big accident on the front stretch. I think Jacobson involved in that one. Or no, not Jacobson. It was Dominic Bureau again?
Yeah, Bureau again. Oh, and he just clips Barboza. Oh, Paul almost had him cleared. He caught him by an inch. Oh, Barboza,
I don't
there
think he
goes
even
Barboza in
touched
that white
him.
car. Yeah.
I think it was just he had to take to the grass and just lost control of the car. You could see he actually went rolling over. Not even safe even in a straight line here, Bill.
What, Barboza? Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. I think he did miss him, but putting the left sides on the grass, put him into the right side wall.
Two drivers who have found trouble multiple times already, and we're barely 10 minutes into this race. You could see it coming. Thought that maybe he'd stay over there, but the New Yorker fell victim anyways. Now, when did Staley get into second place past Shaw? Check. This happened on the no-name straight. Let's watch and see what happened.
Shaw missed a shift, I think. Look how slow this is.
I think, yeah.
See you later. The car just does not go.
Well, Shaw's actually pitting now. Did he possibly have some problems? He's got a little bit of damage on the right side of the car.
But remember, he was involved in that incident earlier that he picked up. I think it was Elson that he got into. Oh, now the front looks good. He's got a fresh car.
Not uncommon for drivers to do that during their pit stop, even if there's a lot of racing left to go. More problems, and this time it involves Jerry McAreevy down into Big Bend. He tried to have a go at Bob Kern into that corner, and unfortunately a little bit of locked brakes is going to cause some chaos for that group behind.
Good job not to get parried. Was involved in that when he let it go through. The guy who made out best was Daniel Sadro, who was last to the scene. Watch Sadro, the last car back there, 5th in line. He just waits for the seas to part, and like Moses, he goes right on through.
Jason knows when to dodge and when to parry. So gets himself up to 9th. Stevie Ray, in the meantime, going to take an early stop. This is pretty traditional for him. He entered from, I believe it was either 6th or 7th place. Perry's going to follow him. That car looking a little worse for the wear. I wouldn't be surprised if it pops. Good, there it goes. Takes his spare car. Stevie Ray back out onto the track now.
Michael Shaw, the leader of all the cars who had pitted, he pitted from 3rd position, came in and got that fresh car.
Ahead of all of this, Sven Demmel continues to extend that lead. It is now 10 and some seconds ahead of Matthew Staley. If you missed last week, this is not a surprise for Sven. He not only ran away, but he had a mistake in the pits, Bill. He missed his pit stall, still came back out and dominated everybody.
I can understand this.
A change for position down in 5th. Let's see, this looks like a case of Christopher Patterson, a little bit wide, coming out of West Bend, and not willing to fight it too hard as you see them coming down diving turn. Sorel just ducks to the inside and snatches it away.
Now, there is an interesting battle between the cars that have pitted. I just want to talk about this quickly, just so we understand. Shaw is the leader of everybody who is pitted. Right behind him, not that far back, is Steven Elson. Elson has also made a stop, but I don't think Elson is in the pit window when he made his. So while Elson is racing 14th overall, second of all the cars who have pitted, I don't think he's in that good a shape right now as he rides right behind Kern.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. Kern also he has not pitted yet either.
Kern recovering after that incident. Oh, hello, and that's the end of Steven Elson.
Up and over and on his lid, the number 56, and our points leader is gonna have to retire early. Let's watch this one more time. This track, something of a throwback to days gone by. Just made contact with Kern and then lost the car, and it's nothing but grass runoff and a tire barrier within a few feet of the edge of the track around a very fast corner, so you can unfortunately say goodnight.
Well, Elson has raced in every race. They do have 3 drop races, so you might as well take advantage of them. I mean,
I don't think that's the way he wanted to.
Well, you have to drop like a 3rd or 4th place finish, so it's always good to have a bad one in there so you feel good about drop races.
I would love to drop a 3rd or 4th place finish. All right, Jerry McAreevy is in. He's certainly seen some adventures trying to come from the very back of the pack, and he unfortunately did not anticipate his pit stall being quite that early. That's what happens when you don't qualify.
That's a good point, Joe.
Other than that, we look at Sven Demmel, the DH driver, still leading the way. Closest battle we've got up at the front is for P5. Sorel and Patterson still close to one another. Sorel, remember, got that just a few laps ago when Christopher found himself going off track.
You know, we talked about Sven Demmel and how well he's doing, but we've seen incidences this break out left and right. In a few minutes, it might even be this lap. I don't want to underestimate the leader's speed. He's going to be coming up on 3 cars that he's got to get around. Now, one of them is Dominic Barreau. We've already seen him have issue after issue. So Doherty is back there as well, and then Jason Perry.
And Tom Gradwell, unfortunately, found himself almost backing into traffic after his spin. He returns P15. And Patterson is, for some reason, taking a trip through the grass after the left-hander. This was driver error. Another bit of the curbs causing that car to become a pogo stick.
Yeah, he was trying to rub them up the back of Ryan Sorel, and boy, it was a real tank slapper. He had it saved twice.
We watched from on board just how much his hands were sawing at the wheel trying to get the car to settle.
I got it. Oh, I don't got it.
So that demotes him to 8th, just ahead of our highest pitter, Michael Shaw. Continues to try and work his way through all the drivers who have yet to pit. We're almost halfway through at this point, so hopefully there will be fewer and fewer for him to deal with.
Let's check in on our leader right now. He was able to get around Dominic Barreau. Barreau did a great job of getting out of the way, just kind of pulled over and stuck his left hand out of the window and waved him by. Up front, there's a battle right in front of him. This is Perry on track. Perry and Doherty, and now here comes Demmel right in behind him.
Yeah, and this is for position. Doherty losing out to P17. Demmel's now rocked up behind him. How closely is Doherty watching those flags? Obviously still right up behind Perry as well, so really doesn't want to give up the opportunity. Through the uphill, he tries to get a run, looks to the inside. Demmel in the meantime You know, he might not be in as big of a rush as we expect with the gap that he's pulled.
Yeah, this is a little more fun to watch a battle in front of him when you got a 14-second gap to second place right now, so he can wait. Now he has the opportunity. Let's see how this plays out.
Well, hopefully it doesn't go 3 wide, and I think it just might go 3 wide. The leader lapping 2 cars battling for position, and that is why Sven Demmel is a winner.
Look at that.
Yeah. Doherty did get 14th back away from Perry. Sven, considering discretion, the better part of valor.
Again, that's something you can do when you got a 14-second cushion, so...
almost if I was Sven, I'd say maybe it's time for me to pit.
Yeah. Either that or Doherty and Perry can be thinking the same thing. Let me check to see if they've come in. Oh, they both made their stop, so they're not coming in.
Yeah. So
it might be time.
Sven might not necessarily know that. Let's see what he does this time around. And if they will go 3 wide again, because Perry's got a very good run, but so does Demmel. And Perry's just going to wait patiently. He's going to let him through. What about Doherty, though? His line's going to be compromised, and there they go. Nicely done by both drivers.
Give a tip of the hat to Jason Perry. I think he could have easily had a deja vu experience and made another move on Doherty if he wanted to. I think he realized what was going on, and I'll just stay here and we'll try it again next lap when we don't have to worry about the leader behind.
I report that Christopher Patterson also coming in for a scheduled stop. It's one of those drivers that took advantage of others' trouble and got way up the field, but unfortunately has fallen back down some. He started 24th with as high as, I believe, the top 5. There's Sorrell also taking a scheduled stop.
He's going to try to
Shaw
get out.
Still your leader.
Sorrell's going to try to get out in front of Ray. Ray gets him.
That promotes Ray to P10.
He does get out in front of Perry, though, I believe. So Sorrell sorts out.
Yes.
11th overall.
Zachary LeVay, who was a lapped car, was the one that you saw off the track there for a moment. He's running down to 22nd, so he's just trying to find his way to the end of this one, as I think at this point many of the drivers are.
We look at Doherty. LeVay had a good run last time, got him up into the top 5 of the S2 standings.
Oh, and Doherty coming through West Bend, unfortunately, is our latest victim, and he missed the pit entry here or something. This is well after his accident. He eventually found his way in, but Doherty might be another one whose race is prematurely over.
Big names who are out. 4th qualifier, Joe Aguilar. 5th place qualifier, Miroslav Jurasek is out of this one. And, of course, Elson. We saw him have his trouble as he raced from inside of row 2.
Bill, this is a cursed weekend. We had Bathurst, where nearly half the fields in the Lotus 49s retired. We had the MWT, where you had nearly half the field retired at Laguna Seca. Then this morning, I don't know if you saw it, Lotus 79s they were running at Mossport. Also, they didn't have half the field, but a lot of drivers, unfortunately, went for an early shower.
I can understand Lotus 49s and Bathurst maybe not being the best marriage in the world, but the other ones, that's a bit surprising.
Well, I say attrition is this weekend's magic word. Scream and shout if you need to. Ooh. And McAreevy off to the side of the course. He's able to get going once again. Did he hit anything?
Yeah.
I think he managed to avoid.
Out of the final corner. Watch this.
A little bit of dirt.
Man, that is just no fun to be looking the wrong direction.
Credit to him for keeping it out of the wall and without hitting anybody in the process. That puts him all the way down to 22nd position.
Oh, let's go to our leader. Sven Demmel has been caught up in an incident.
And I saw a car in the background absolutely tumbling. That was Christopher Patterson.
Patterson and the Demmel get together. Now, what's going on here? Patterson trying to stay out of the way, put the left sides on the grass, lost control of the car, went into the race leader.
Oh my goodness. I mean, Demmel definitely an innocent victim in this one, but also you can't fault Patterson too much. Just the tiniest of little errors. Sven's now come into the pits. Now he's obviously within the pit window.
And honestly, I guess he can get as fast. He didn't have to take a tow. That's the good thing. He limped the car around. Look at Patterson going over and over, doing some Olga Korbut gymnastics there. He comes in, gets a free car. Will come out. I don't know where he's going to come out. Somewhere legitimately. How about 5th position?
And Shaw just went by. Shaw was our earliest pitter, and I believe Shaw was fighting for 2nd place before. So he's not out of the woods yet. Yeah. He's still going to have to work his way back to the front with 15 minutes to go. But in spite of everything, for the 2nd race, Sven Demmel might be able to overcome tragedy.
I bet you Demmel wishes he had a few of those seconds back that he spent behind lap traffic now. If he knew he was going to crash the car and have to drive harder the back half of the race, he might have worked a little hard to get around those left cars.
We're still waiting on Staley, Fitterer, Regalado, and Sadro in front of them to pit. And we'll get a real picture of where things sit. Regalado, one of the first to come in. Amazingly, he's not our highest Spec 2 driver. That's still Donald Fitterer.
So honestly, I misspoke when I said when he came out in 5th. I forgot the fact that there were drivers in front of him that haven't pitted yet. So basically, this Shaw and Demmel battle is a battle for the lead.
And a very close battle for the lead. This is our Spec 2 leader that we saw on screen. Yeah.
Shaw had issues, and then that brings them back together again. Oh my goodness! But you don't get yourself a 14-second gap by being slow, man.
Yeah, but if you're Shaw though, and you realize that he's behind you, especially if he's sussed out that I am effectively the leader now, I don't think he's going to give it away easy. Oh, look at him push though, all the way off course in West Bend.
I talked about how hard it is to pass here if you take a defensive line. This is where Shaw has to go. Oh, careful as he puts it on the grass. He's going to lose all of his momentum, even though he tries to protect the inside line. Joe, I don't know if it's going to momentum. It's going to matter because Demmel's going to be so fast. Here they are, 2 wide, and he got him.
Didn't take long. Sven Demmel, effectively your leader, but this moves him up to 4th on track. Still waiting on Staley, Fitterer, and Sadro.
I really thought passing Shaw was going to be like milking a rooster. The hard part starts after you catch it, but it did not take long to get a little milk out of that rooster as Demmel now can drive away.
All it took was one small error from the 55. Shows you how good you have to be in this series to snatch wins away, even when you don't have the likes of our championship, multi-time champion up at the front.
Leader is in, Matthew Staley. He'll be passed by the guys who have already made their stops.
Of course, missing David Gaspers today, once again for the 2nd time this season. He said he's going to have to miss a few.
Gasper the Ghost, always fun to watch that German driver race.
Got a few others. Oh, Sue, go ahead.
Staley comes out in a battle. Can we look at Staley right now? He comes in a battle right with Steve Ray out of pit lane. They are sitting 6th and 7th, but there are still 3 cars ahead of them that have yet to pit. So my math tells me this is a battle for 3rd? I think it is.
Possibly. Well, it depends on where Fitterer comes out, because I think both Fitterer and Sadro might be ahead of Ray.
I think you're right.
They work their way towards the uphill. Matthew Staley, now that he's finished his pit stop, has got a better idea of where he sits. We ride on board with the Texas driver, Stevie Ray. Oh, he's awful close, though. Good run off of here. Could do it. Is it enough? It's close. Depends on how aggressive the number 11 wants to be. Slipstream reeling him in. Is he going to poke his nose? Nope. There's a big lift early for Stevie Ray. So here's what's interesting, Bill. Sven Dimmel, who seemed to have incredible pace early on in this race, romped away with things until his incident. Now that he's past Shaw, Shaw's holding on. He's only 3/10 back.
Well, in qualifying, they were only they were 3/10 of a second off each other. Demmel put in a 57 flat, Ray put in a 57.3, but he's probably close enough where that won't matter as he's in the tow right now. Look at him gain spots here. Picks up a couple car lanes going into the first corner. Too far back to make a pass, but close enough now. If he can just stay close to him through this twisty section.
You might notice them going up the time in his scoring. That's because Daniel Sadro has now pitted. And where is Staley? Oh, he's going to just miss them. They're just going by. There you see, flash across the screen. So that brings Sadro out in 7th. Fitterer, who is a Spec 2 driver, is now leading overall. And I believe this is not the first time we've seen this happen.
Out in front, hoping that the new dynamic weather that iRacing put in has an eclipse that happens and they have to call the race for darkness, but nope. He's going to have to pit. Oh, that's an interesting way. Little Kona side there.
Did he slow up enough? I'm checking his speed. I think he got in okay.
You know, he's fine. You know what's going on, though, Joe. He knows what's at stake here. He knows he's racing the guys on the other side of the track.
Absolutely. That would be Regalado and Sorel, both in Spec 2. And they are coming off the final corner right now.
Ray goes by, Sadro goes by, Fidro comes out. Was not able to stay with Sadro.
But he's 6th, and he is in the lead of Spec 2 by a good margin. That worked out well. Oh, and Dominique Bureau is... Oh, is this a second stop for Dominique?
Horns Arabian has a spin. That was in the coming out of 2. Not sure if he loses a position. Well, he does by the time he gets us going as Woolbolt goes by him.
Car just would not stay straight.
That'll
Facing the wrong way once again.
That'll put him in a battle now with Adam Bradshaw to crack the top 10.
Let's take a glance at the podium, though, because as that's Woolbolt having problems. He's well down the order in 20th. Staley, who we watched come out with Stevie Ray, is in a tight little fight between himself, Ray, and Sadro. And this is to decide the final spot on the podium. So this is important stuff right here.
Yeah, there's a nice battle for 3rd that we're watching, and another battle for 7th between Sorel, Perry, and Regalado. This one for 3rd, though, is probably more important. Staley, the slowest of the 3 as far as qualifying goes.
Now let's stay with this, but I wonder if we need to start giving an elevator award for people like Perry who have been up and down the order more times than I can count, and yet is still looking at a top 10. Right on board with Sadro. Still chasing the 2 drivers, Stevie Ray and Matthew Staley, coming around Big Bend up towards the left-hander. Ooh, Staley in a little bit deep puff of smoke off of those tires, but he manages to keep it together. Not offering any sort of advantage for the 2 drivers behind. Sadro starting to look very close to Ray at certain points, though.
A feature that would probably only matter to commentators. I wish iRacing would let us track how many who took fast repairs. Boy, Joe, I've never seen a race where that spare car has been more important than this one. Almost everybody has taken the spare car, I think.
Certainly seems like it. I called it a short track, a bull ring, and it's certainly behaving like some of the bull rings we watch in stock car racing. Looks like Stevie Ray not quite willing to risk it yet, even though it's 6 minutes to go.
Staley was really weaving that car down the front straight, trying to break the draft. Ray was having none of it.
And Perry got by Sorel. So that moves Jason up to 7th, Sorrell down to 8th, Regalado still back there. Of course, Sorrell would have preferred Perry between them because Perry's a Spec 1, Sorrell Spec 2, but now there's nothing separating him from the bottom step of that Spec 2 podium.
I believe they score points, though. It's not individually scored for the Spec 2s. It's where you finish in the overall standing. So that makes every position. And that's the way I prefer it as a commentator, because it makes every battle important here.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, certainly makes it frustrating for Perry, as of course he does have to fight with Spec 2. We jump back up to the battle for 3rd. Stevie Ray still hasn't been able to dispose of Staley in front of him. You could see him get close to that gearbox of that green and blue car. Nothing doing quite yet.
You're worried about what's going on up front. Just look at the interval on that top line of your screen there. You can see that Shaw did his best to stay with Demmel. Wasn't able to do that now, about 2.5 seconds back.
2.5 seconds, though, to Sven Demmel is no mean feat from what we've seen just in these 2 races where he's shown up. Who would have thought that we'd possibly even want Gaspers to come back, because, well, now he's got some serious competition.
Right, here comes the move, I believe. Look at this. No defensive line from Staley. Just going to leave the door open for not only 1, but maybe 2 drivers? Nope.
Oh, but they make contact wheel to wheel, and that's going to move Staley well to the outside. Sadro picks it up as well. 2 positions lost in 1 corner.
Sadler wasn't going to go through, but once they got together and said, all right, that door's wide open, I'll go up to take 4th position. Ray now makes the podium.
Which is pretty impressive. Both for he and Staley, 10th and 8th, respectively.
Oh, spinning in front of these guys going off. That was Gadwell. Don't worry about that. Look at Warbold. I was just going to talk about Gary. He does a good job when you have to let not only 1, not only 2, but 3 cars go by. He does a good job of getting out of the way. Nice job, Gary.
So that separates our battle for the podium a little bit, not a whole lot. They're still relatively close to each other. 3.5 minutes left to go on the clock. Sven Demmel, still your leader if you're just joining us here for round 5 of the Weekend Warriors. Looking back, though, Perry, Sorrell, and Regalado have spread way far apart from one another.
Yep.
So that battle broke up. Go ahead.
I want to talk about Steve Ray again in 3rd position. Now, he hasn't been watching the broadcast, and with only just under 3 minutes to go, I'm not sure if he's going to get up to Dominic Barreau. But if he knew the misadventures that Barreau had this race, he would be a little bit worried about this. That is not done, though. Sadro now has visions of a podium as well.
I think we have an explanation for his speed. I don't know if you saw on his paint there, it says jet fuel only. So maybe he's using a little bit of unorthodox propulsion. Unfortunately, not going to help him here as Sadro looking to the inside. And once again, we see no defense, but no contact this time. And it looks like...
he loses 2 spots?
They're not nearly close enough to run down Shaw, so I'm not sure why they're doing this. Was he fully passed by the start-finish line, or are they all maybe thinking I'm going to try and slipstream by up the straight?
No, as a matter of fact, it wasn't Ray. Ray was actually first to the finish line, so maybe he's doing a little reconnaissance racing. That's good news for Sadro right now, because he's got to be feeling good with just under 2 minutes to go, that even if somebody does make a move off of that final corner, what is that, the diving turn, I believe it's called, that he'll be able to get to the finish line first.
A little bit of a mistake from Staley this time. That loses him a tiny gap to Sadro. And poor Stevie Ray not able to capitalize on it either, so they're going to stay in position. That's Sadro 3rd, Staley 4th, Ray 5th.
11 cars on the lead lap. We don't need to go there. Let's give a shout out to Ryan Sorrell. He's our hard charger. Started 22nd. He's in the top 10, racing an 8th right now. I love this camera shot. This is fun.
good idea of exactly what the driver is experiencing as the car bounces around over this very old scan at this point of Lime Rock Park. I know the drivers were discussing in the pre-race over the radio to each other, longing for the new one. Obviously, iRacing's been in touch with Lime Rock, but haven't quite had the chance to scan it yet, as far as we know.
Get that.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness. Stevie Ray goes wide. I was saying, get that chicane out of there. Get a new chicane in the Lime Rock would be nice.
Absolutely. Well, on a smoother racing surface, too. I'm sure would be appreciated.
Uh-oh.
Oh, big lockup from Staley down into the first corner. But Ray was deep into there, too, and he can't take advantage of it. He gets right up underneath him. But frustratingly, both of them lose out to Sadro, who retains P3.
Sanders saying, see you later, boys, like your skater boys. Is he going to leave them behind? I don't know if they're going to get to him for P3 now, as we're just running out of time. The white flag's going to come out.
And in fact, they're going to get almost exactly one extra lap. So who planned for that? Now, thankfully, with it being a short lap, you can at least save for that, but that's if you knew to save. Sven Demmel, our leader in the number 23. First race this season, last round at Silverstone. He won. Second race this season here at Lime Rock Park. Despite a scare, just like last round, he's returned. He's extended that gap to nearly 6 seconds.
But with that 6 seconds gap, he doesn't want any part of Adam Bradshaw. Adam Bradshaw racing in 10th, the last car on the lead lap. Adam, you're going to have to go around one more time, I think, because I don't think Demmel's going to pass you.
Sven Demmel, around diving turn, nice and safe to the line. Our winner for the second race in the row, gonna be Sven Demmel. Shaw follows him in second. That battle for third, it looks like it's gonna go to Sadro, but what about fourth? Staley just ahead of Stevie Ray. Could Ray maybe snipe him at the line? It's gonna take a monster run and he knows it, but he just doesn't have the pace. So Staley takes fourth. Stevie Ray rounds out your top 5.
Our F2 leader, Fitterer, is going to come home in 6th position, up 5 spot. Spider-Man, Jason Perry behind him in 7th. Our hard charger, Ryan Sorrell, 22 to 8th for him. Rounding out the drivers on the lead lap, Ramon Regalado in 9th. And then we saw that Adam Bradshaw had to go all the way around one more time. He'll be the last car on the lead lap.
And Sorrell and Regalado 2nd and 3rd on the Spec 2 podium as well.
Yeah.
That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. But if you watch on screen, you can see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Lime Rock Park. We just watched round 5 of the Weekend Warriors, and what I consider one of the most unique schedules they've ever put together. Lime Rock Park makes up this race, and well, Sven Demmel had it throw its best at him, and he still overcame and took the win. Michael Shaw tried to see if he could take advantage of Sven's problems, but just like we discovered last week, nothing can hold back the Dremel. He'll finish second, with Daniel Sadro taking third, Matthew Staley finishing fourth from 10th on the grid. Stevie Ray just behind him at the line, P5. Donald Fitterer takes 6th. And then Jason Perry, I did not expect him to finish as well as he did, considering he was turned around at before the very first corner, finishing 7th. Ryan Sorrell finishing 8th from 22nd and being second in the Spec 2. Ramon Regalado finishes 9th, 3rd in the Spec 2, and then Adam Bradshaw finishes 10th overall.
I applaud the drivers when they get it organized, put all the lead lap cars on one graphic. Let's go to the second graphic. We'll talk about the drivers that were a lap down. Jim McGill, Rick Hansen, and Rob Kern go 11th, 12th, and 13th. Esanumi behind them. Dominic Burrow, we saw him racing out there. Boy, he had a lot of interesting adventures. In 16th position, it's Flores Arabian. Tom Gadwell in 17th. 18th and 19th is going to be Jeff Jacobson and Gary Wilbald. And then in 20th, it was Zachary Levine.
21st goes to Matt Solblum, with Jerry McAreevy trying to come from the back of the pack, and it didn't pay off, sadly. He got a few places up and then unfortunately ran into trouble. 22nd for him. Christopher Patterson looked like he as well could have gone from the back to the front, but wound up 23rd. Edward Doherty, 24th for him. Elson, disappointment for him, 3rd. Second row on the grid, and then suddenly he's 25th. Paul Barbuza, 26th for him, with Ian Wilson, 27th. Edgar Sancinelli, 28th. Miroslav Juracek, 29th. And then Joe Aguilar and John Nielsen rounding out our fields. We've got our winner ready to talk to us, Sven Demmel, joining us in the booth. Sven, second week in a row where it seemed like you had a scare and a setback, and well, nothing seems to be able to stop you.
Hey guys, yeah, it seemed like a pretty confident win. Like, I had such a huge gap, and I go for a pass on the no-name straight, and just when I'm about, like, I can hear him, like, his engine besides me. I'm like, okay, is this guy gonna lift? I don't want to take him into the uphill right-hander side by side. So I'm like, okay, let's see if he lifts, or if I should lift and just try it later on. I look to the left, and that's like the exact moment when I see him spinning and right into me. And like a split second to go like, oh no, and then I was dead.
So you limped it into the pits, and you managed to get your spare car, but you saw Michael Shaw ahead of you when you came out. Now, were you aware that he had pitted and that was for race position when you came out?
I wasn't 100% sure. He was in the lead group early on, and then I saw him gone, but I was like, okay, he could have pitted and be like my direct competition, so I definitely have to attempt to pass him, but yeah, I wasn't completely sure.
Well, we've had some small, tight tracks, obviously, that you've joined in on with the short version of Silverstone and then here at Lime Rock. But next we're going to Monza, and that's going to be a completely different style of racing, I anticipate. How do you fare at the draft tracks with the fuel saving and the draft trickery?
I don't like these tracks too much, to be honest. It's fine if they're on the calendar occasionally, but yeah, it's not much about speed on those tracks. It's just about strategy and being patient and having some luck, like in the pack, to not get collected. But you can't just drive away at the front, obviously. And it's going to be like a completely different thing than it was this week.
All right. Well, we'll see how it winds up for you. Again, congratulations. That was Sven Demmel, our winner here today at Lime Rock Park. Up next, we've got Michael Shaw, second place, who got a whiff of a chance at victory, but Bill, it was not meant to be today.
Michael, I want to take you back. I know it was an eventful race, so I don't know if you can remember everything that happened. I want to talk about a pass when you were in second that where it looked like you missed a shift coming out of four. Is that what happened? Did I get that one right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly where you're talking about, and that's exactly what happened. I missed a shift. I usually try and get it in fourth gear by there, but the old G27 wasn't having any of it.
Well, that cost you second position. You dropped into third, but then you decided to come in relatively early, one of the early pitters. What were you thinking there?
Well, I always have been an early pitter. You know, I find that it takes me from up in the lead pressure situation to just running hot laps like a time trial, so that works good for me. But I knew that I took a little damage too when I bonked the spinner there in front of me, Stephen, I guess it was, and
Right.
so the early pit got me a new car, and I was able to pick up a few tenths a lap, and I don't know what happened to Sven, but I was surprised to see him coming out of the pits when he did. So it made for good racing there, but last 8 laps or so, he just ran away with it. Guy's fast.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. You had to be surprised when all of a sudden the pit cycle is done and he's behind you. Was there any thought about being defensive and closing down that inside line?
Well, not really. Makes for a long 8 or 10 laps if you're trying to defend the whole way. So what I wanted to do was just try and tuck in, keep up with him, and hope for him to make a slip up somewhere. Didn't happen.
Yeah, you hung with him for a while, but then eventually he broke the draft and pulled away from you. Hey, nevertheless, considering the attrition that got to almost everybody today, and I think everyone took a spare car, you grid in second, you bring it home in second. That's a win, baby.
Yeah, I'm happy with where I came in, and you know, I like this track. I think it's tracks that start with L, so maybe I'll see you guys again in this boost next time the track starts with L.
Okay, thanks. Joe, back to you.
I like that theory, but going by track name alphabetically. So we've got Daniel Sadro, our third place finisher, ready to talk to us. And he eventually managed to get a little bit safe to take that third place. But even close to, I think, as 3 laps to go, Daniel, you and Staley and Ray look like you had an almighty scrap going on to decide the podium.
Yeah, that was just a lot of fun. I was very lucky to be in third or get up to 5th place and eventually make my way up to third. Obviously, turn 1, I decided I was going some rallycross, but it was a lot of fun going through the field, and especially that scrap once I was done with the pits. You know, had a good race against Matthew and Stevie Ray, of course, and just got a little bit lucky and got a little distance, and that's all that was.
Now, what I found interesting is when the 3 of you were fighting into turn 1 multiple times, we saw Ray and we saw Staley both not go defensive and both lose effectively 2 spots down into that first corner. But you never fell victim to that. Do you have any idea what could have been going on?
I don't know for sure. Maybe they thought that it would be better to let someone by, and then that they'd be in a position of strength where they could on the last lap pass. But other than that, I don't know.
Fascinating. That's what we wondered too, but it didn't seem like the draft was powerful enough for that sort of thing. Up at Monza, I told our winner it's going to be completely different style racing, and you've been having a heck of a season. Are you expecting a little bit more of a shakeup there, like we saw what happened here today, or do you think it's going to be the usual suspects up front?
Well, I think there's going to be the usual suspects on front. That's my guess. But I do think that you're going to see some people who are better at a draft track than are better at a technical track, and I think you'll see some of that. So some surprises, but definitely the top of the field will be fairly familiar, I think.
All right. Well, that was Daniel Sadro, who managed to get onto the podium here today from 6 on the grid, finishing third. Up next, we've got our winner in the Spec 2 Championship. Soup's going to talk to Donald Fitterer.
Donald, I want to start first, even before the race. I want to talk about qualifying. You made it into 11th. I was a bit surprised to see you down there. Were you surprised to be so far down, or is that where you thought?
No, for some reason I was having trouble with the setup, and I went back in and changed the tire pressures to a little higher, and that worked for me to get at least to 11th. But yeah, it wasn't my best work for that time.
Well, it didn't take you long to pick up spots. By the second lap, you're already up to fourth. Now, some of those you did on track, a lot of that was from attrition. Any close calls for you?
Well, I've raced with Ferenz before, and I knew just to let him by because he likes to race close. And yeah, that was pretty much the only thing that I was really concerned about. Nobody else got close to me when they spun, and I only had one incident point.
Wow. That's a win right there. You ran the car really long before you decided to come in for the pit. What's your thinking there?
Well, I try to make up some time and make sure that I've gotten as good laps as I can get at such a low amount. And yeah, I do that constantly in whatever car I drive.
Okay, I'm gonna get you out of here on this question. It's a question we ask the drivers a lot. This is a technical track. There's a lot of lap traffic. It's not a draft track. It seems like more of a driver's track. Do you prefer racing on a track like this or a draft track?
I kind of like a draft track. This is not my favorite track for some particular reason. Too bumpy or whatever. And you probably notice in my driving style that all I was trying to do was be consistent and safe every lap and not go so fast that I could possibly make a mistake.
Yeah, with the attrition that we saw, getting away with only one incident, man, that's impressive. Congratulations. Good luck on that. Enjoy being an S2 driver, because I'm not sure if you come back next season, you're going to find yourself in that category.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't be in this category, but I'm enjoying it while I can. Cheers.
That's right. Good luck to you. Joe?
That was our winner in Spec 2 for today. A bit of a note from our director. The only driver to go incident-free this race, Ryan Sorrell. So congrats to him on that impressive feat.
Hard charger and incident-free.
Hey, yeah. Well, Bill, I suspect those are related. So let's give some thank yous before we break away. A big thanks to the Hallett Race Shop for sponsoring this season. Again, highly encourage you, if you want to go racing in a real spec racer Ford, reach out to them at hallettracing.net. Also, thanks go out to iRacing for bringing us onto the iRacing Esports Network. Please subscribe to their channel when you get the opportunity. All you got to do is go to their YouTube page and click the button that says subscribe. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race that we're going to in a week's time over to Italy for the Monza, the GP course. Don't worry, they're not going on the oval. That'll be Sunday, April 21st at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.